So, normally I would mark the anniversary of my channel with a discussion of E3 and how things have come and gone, that event, or what games were featured, but E3 no longer exists, so E3 is dead. Long live Key 3, by which I mean Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest, and with it, I watched a whole bunch of the trailers and that sort of thing, because with the way things are now, I can't get hands-on with everything the same way that people who are invited to cover the event are. But I can watch lots of trailers. And I'm going to edit chunks in with my voiceover here, or the on-camera stuff, to go with some of the games that I saw trailers for at the various streams for Summer Games Fest. I want to spotlight one game per show, more or less, but also top off with a couple things that were trends that I observed. Of these, probably the biggest one, for biggest trend, in terms of like number of titles I saw that fit this. I didn't write them all down. I probably should have, but still, big one was I would describe as cozy life sim horror games which are taking the Stardew Valley or the Animal Crossing framework and then attaching horror elements to it. Probably one of the games that actually came up in a couple different trailers was Neverway, but there were a bunch of other titles that fit this criteria. Games where you go to a rural community because you going to get away from the stresses and anxieties of city life, or because you had a relative who passed away and left you a farm, and you go and sit up and go through the routine of being a farmer and getting to know your neighbors, and all of a sudden it turns out there's a dark and sinister secret going on in the underbelly of all of this. Not gonna lie, I would not be surprised if at least one of these just goes full color out of space. I'm honestly surprised that, considering that the original story is actually the public domain, nobody's just gone and done color out of space the game. But hey, maybe they have and I've just completely missed it. The other trend was what I describe as multitask games. These are different from idle games or clickers or that sort of thing, but these are games which I saw presented where you could run them full screen, but then also you could have them run in a bar, almost about the same size for every single one of these games, on the bottom of your screen, either in your primary window or your secondary window with a multi-monitor setup. These ranged from NanoNeighbors, which looks basically like more or less doing the little computer people thing, except in present day, or with Idle Waters, which is fishing, or Not Monday's Cafe, which is running a cafe. So all of those, like, okay, once I noticed it, or NanoNeighbors again, that's the one that caught my attention first. Well, that's the one I saw first. But then when I saw it come up again, I'm like, huh, that's weird. This is just a trend. Now, admittedly, this may actually be a thing now, a big thing, and like maybe things like Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms have gotten patch stuff in there, so it'll just run in the bar on your screen and that sort of thing. I don't know. But in any case, it's a trend where I saw this actually like coming up on the game presentations as opposed to just a genre that exists and kind of, well, runs in the background, so to speak. So I didn't take notes for all the showcase. I had not gotten around to Frosty Game Fest before deciding I need to bite the bullet, I need to stop somewhere and do the recording. But kicking things off with Sony State of Play, the defining title for this for me was, without beyond a shadow of a doubt, Final Fantasy Tactics: The Ivalice Chronicles. While I did like the trailer for Luminous Arise, and I enjoy the Luminous series as a whole, Final Fantasy Tactics is a special place in my heart, both from a nostalgia standpoint and from this is a game I love and wanting to be able to play again in an easy manner. Or not easy in the sense of difficulty, but easy to have access to. And while this was showcased in the Sony State of Play, and for play it on your PlayStation 5, or presumably in a like local network portable version through the PlayStation Portal. It didn't come out, not that it wasn't that long until after this. Don't used to play that. Oh yeah, Final Fantasy Tactics will be getting, or Final Fantasy Tactics: The Ivalice Chronicles is getting a release as well on the Switch and Switch 2, which is the way I want to play this game. I want to play it on the Switch. I enjoy playing this type of strategy game in a hybrid handheld and then dock it on the television fashion. I wanted to like when Final Fantasy Tactics War of the Lions came out on the PSP, I wanted to play that game that way. I like to play it on the PSP when I was going to doctor's appointments or just running errands or on the bus, and then when I get home, hook it up and play it on my television. So, like, before the Switch ever existed, was a gleam in anyone at Nintendo's eye. So having the opportunity to play it this way on my Switch 2 is excellent. Is everything? I would say it's not everything I wanted, but it's the way I wanted to get a chance to play this game again. So this was a really great start to Summer Games Fest for me. Then we had the Summer Games Fest main opening ceremony thing. It was all right. I think this came up on a couple other podcasts I listened to in terms of like, hey, the actual Jeff Keighley framework for presenting all this stuff is kind of middling and blah in terms of having to go through the dog and pony show of having Jeff Keighley come out and have to do his Master of Ceremonies stage banter because he needs to be a part of this, as opposed to later in the week when we had the Microsoft Game Showcase where it's just trailer. And, or for that matter, how Wholesome Direct and Women-Led Games and Latin American Game Showcase and Southeast Asian Game Showcase do it, which is a similar manner. We do get interstitial bits, but most of those are with developers who work on the games and talking about the games and what they're about, and with a direct connection with the people who make them, rather than a Master of Ceremonies doing banter. With that in mind, while I was definitely kind of I'm probably going to pick up Code Vein 2. I own Code Vein. I haven't beaten it, but not because I didn't enjoy it. Just dropped off for various reasons. And probably pick up Code Vein 2, or Marvel Cosmic Invasion, or Onimusha of the Sword. But the game that grabbed me, caught my eye, and caught my attention was Acts of Blood, which one of the streams I was watching described it as like it looks like Sifu meets The Raid, and it's not a bad comparison. Or at the very least, it looks like they made The Raid Redemption in video game form, of having a Malaysian martial arts game focusing on Pencak Silat, and I probably mispronounced that martial art, and I apologize, and having these really dynamic, really brutal fights with a fluidity of the animations for the attacks in the game that looks like the good kind of procedural, where it's like, rather than a sort of like presumably canned combo, it is like organically stitching moves together based on the attacks you're doing. Rather than, oh, this is the set canned combos that you can do. No, this is like the sense of like, this is the moves a martial artist would make. Like the way the moves of martial arts fight would be necessarily. Rather than trying to give on the one other hand, a more, not say natural, but cinematic choreographed feel, which sometimes can lead into weirdness when it comes to actually inputting commands when it becomes time to play the game. So, really looking forward to that. Next up was Day of the Devs. And for this one, like 3 titles really got me, but the big one was very early on, and that was Relooted, which is a heist game about repatriating African artifacts that were taken by various colonial entities. British Museum's probably going to be one of them, but also like private collectors from Germany, Belgium, France, and what have you, and repatriating them to their home countries and cultures. And like there were a lot of heist games at Summer Game Fest this year, but this is the one like, this is interesting, both in the context of being somewhat unique in the approach it's taking, but also like, hey, it's in the weird way it's an edutainment game because like it's about all the artifacts in the game are real artifacts, and they get into the history of them, why they are important to these cultures, and while the people we're not stealing them from the actual straight people who have them, we're not breaking into the British Museum and just rolling through the warehouse supermarket sweep style. Well, I hope that supermarket sweep cycle style. These artifacts need to be treated with dignity and respect, but you get what I mean. So like this game, like of all the games where I can say like I hope whenever we get to the Game Awards with the Games with a Purpose award comes up, I hope they nominate this game gets nominated for this rather than whoever's responsible for the Game Awards going, oh, this is too political a game, we can't nominate that. This should be nominated. Wholesome Direct. Pretty straight. Like, well, only one game really grabbed me, and that was Milano's Odd Job Collection, which is a re-release of a new port and remastering of a sort of life sim minigame collection for the original PlayStation that was Japan exclusive and never came out in the US or in Europe, and now got translated and is playable or will be playable on modern consoles and computers. And that's awesome. And also looks very chill. For Women-Led Game Showcase, this game is technically a sequel, but it looks like it might be something that stands on its own well enough, and that is Perfect Tide Station to Station. The first game in the series actually came out about like 4 years ago, like 3-4 years ago. And this is a sequel looks like it's following similar characters or the same characters with a sort of coming of age adventure, life sim kind of thing. And it looks fun. Xbox Game Showcase, Wild Beast of Reincarnation caught my interest because it's a Game Freak game that looks like a lot of the more conventional games, whereas in the past, even their non-Pokemon games still had a cartoonish feel to them. Like, I forget the start of the name, but something the Badass Elephant. Still a cartoonish vibe. This is trying to go for a more grounded look, but nonetheless, what really grabbed me here, I think, was Clockwork Revolution. The vibe I got from it was Dishonored meets Fallout with a bit of the violence that you get from BioShock, but handling. I want to bring up the BioShock connection too much because BioShock has handled in the past its political elements poorly, particularly BioShock Infinite. I actually regret the praise that I gave to it at the time, and lots of other game critics have given the game a similar reassessment. And so, yeah, the sugar I spoke about it earlier, has was not as good as they thought. So, like, same for here. Like, the presentation looks great. I appreciate getting an extended look at the game with the stealth, heist-related gameplay, then leading into the time travel and time adjustment mechanics. One of the things with BioShock Infinite is a lot of the sandboxy elements from earlier games, which let you be flexible with your play style in a lot of respects, were gone when it came to Infinite. And this one, I think, will work better in that regard. It helps that it's Brian Fargo and an InXile who pioneered a lot of this stuff with various earlier RPGs, so it looks solid. PC Gaming showcased. Generation Exile is the game that I think grabbed me here. I've heard a lot of praise spoken about Frostpunk as a city builder with speculative fiction, a speculative fiction city builder. He's one that kind of works in a steampunk framework, but I've never really wanted to get into playing that game because it's a very bleak and nihilistic tone that's not what I'm up for. That's the kind of thing where I'm going to take in some bleak and nihilistic media. I don't want to play an extended city builder and go through the process of us playing a city building campaign and the whole thing where you run into a wall and have to start over and that sort of stuff. That actually is kind of depressing for me, for what I would want for a city builder type game. Generation Exile feels like it is trying to go for more of an optimistic tone. It still has the elements of you are the last hope for humanity, but this time it's like, okay, but we're going to try and get these things right, and we're not going and trying to, because they're on basically a colony on an alien world. And what I think's making this work and feel more optimistic is that it's not like there's still the pressing threat of if you screw this up, humanity goes extinct and you can all die. But it doesn't feel like with Frostpunk, it felt like the impending extinction of humanity from the elements was an inevitability. Here, it feels like it is still a failure state, but you can theoretically work your way out of this, and ideally to a solution that has you living in harmony with the planet that is your new home, rather than recreating the ecological catastrophes of man. For the Latin American Game Showcase, the game that caught my interest was Code Bunny. However, from a little bit more research in the process of getting this video ready, it looks like the game already is out. So it was actually kind of a weird one. I'm like, oh, this game looks interesting. I'll look forward to picking it when it's out. But this game has been out for over a year. So it's more like, we're just promoting this existing game. And while it certainly looks like a very fun platformer, and I'm definitely interested to pick it up, and I wish listed it, and we'll probably pick it up at some point in the future. This was a case like, I was looking for an upcoming title to hype up, and this isn't that. So instead, Idle Waters for the whole fishing game thing, for the whole idle multitasking game thing. Southeast Asian Game Showcase. Why we also have a sequel to Coffee Talk. What kind of got my attention here was the murder mystery game Death and Faeology. I've always been a fan of urban fantasy. I'm starting to kind of get drug into the dark academia genre in various forms, and it certainly caught my attention with that. And the whole structure of this looks like this could be fun. I enjoy visual novels. I enjoy games about murder mysteries and solving murders and all that sort of wonderful stuff. I enjoy the murder mystery genre as a reader. So I'm looking forward to picking this up. And those were the games that caught my interest really from Summer Games Fest. What games caught your eye in general? I will have a link in the show notes below to a site which will have basically the rundown of various Summer Game Fest releases. And I'm interested to see what the Summer Games recap, if you will. And I'm interested in seeing what games from the Summer Game Fest caught your eye. Let me know in the comments. Honestly, let me know why it caught your interest. I'm certainly willing to add more games to my already gargantuan wish list and my even more gargantuan Steam library.
Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please like and subscribe, and also consider backing my Patreon. Patreon backers get episodes up to 1 week early of this show and any future Let's Plays. Also, please consider backing my Ko-fi. Toss me a few bucks also helps support the show, and it's not a monthly obligation or anything like that.